Today on Growing Bolder, the magic of mentoring and the many ways that small actions can lead to big changes. Then,
there's no finer character in a guy that you'll find than Rob Butcher. And that's the honest to God truth. He's just a good guy.
A good guy doing great work for people all over America. We're shining the spotlight on a guy who exemplifies the Growing Bolder concept of move forward, give back.
And a childhood cancer warrior uses his devastating diagnosis to empower and educate other families. Right now on Growing Bolder.
The moral of the story is really follow your heart.
Live your life to the fullest. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't do it.
So get out there. Take some chances.
Find something you love and make it your lifestyle.
Make no mistake about it, it's a revolution.
Welcome to Growing Bolder, the show that is rebranding aging to show you that it's never too late to live a life of purpose.
I'm Mark Middleton along with Bill Schaefer here at the Growing Bolder House in Lake Nona, Florida. And today we start with a story that embodies the Growing Bolder mantra, move forward, give back.
Everybody ready? 2, 1, go! Down. All right.
And it all began years ago when Growing Bolder documented and shared the story of a new community center outside of Orlando, Florida. Named after Joe R. Lee, the renowned CEO who built Darden Restaurants into the world's largest full-service restaurant company, this new Boys and Girls Club promised to help young families and people of all ages overcome obstacles of all kinds.
And we need, as Americans, we need to worry more about, be more concerned about, and work more aggressively to help the future generations have the opportunities we've had. It starts with education, and that's the fundamental place Boys and Girls Club starts, and then it has all the other things.
All the other things that Mr. Lee mentioned are now in action with after-school programs, visual and performing arts opportunities, and lots of leadership development work offered every single week.
A center like that reaches far more than just the boys and girls who go there. William Jones chose to volunteer there. He too thought it would be a great way for him to give back, but he never expected that there would be so much more to it. Like what? Well, let's take a much closer look.
This is a TV show?
Well, yes, it is a TV show, but it's also something more. A look inside a Boys and Girls Club where magic things happen every day.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for coming today.
Well, this is not exactly what William Jones imagined himself doing at the age of 69, but he wasn't about to let the rest of his life just pass by.
Because I didn't want to sit on the couch. I didn't want to sit in a comfort zone. The only way I can succeed in my quest in life is to get out the door and follow the path. It's either the roadway in this direction, path in that direction, but I find that the opportunities in life come along the journey, not sitting down anywhere. The whoa foods, okay? Bad, there you go.
And his quest involves taking the time to mentor children, just as others did for him, so he could say, I helped make a difference.
Well, for me, it's being here in this facility here, the Boys and Girls Club, is very important because we all had childhoods, and this is very reminiscent of my childhood. It reinforces the good habits that I learned as a child, and it helps me fulfill a role that others played with me in my youth.
So what do these 3, 4, or 5-year-olds think about hanging out with a 69-year-old?
They don't know the difference. That's the thing. They just don't know the difference.
And something else, whether you're 6 or 69, learning is a two-way street.
So I learned from even young people that I'm here with today, there's always more to understand and to discover.
One thing he discovered is his belief that the desire to volunteer is in us all.
When we're children, we don't get paid for what we do, you know what I mean? And it's not even called volunteering, it's living, man, you know, right? So for me to be a volunteer now is, I think, the very natural step. I think people kind of get stuck, you know, in the stages of life and don't realize that we do revert back to being children again. And if you follow the flow, you can be very comfortable with it.
All right, so when we go outside, you're gonna line up next to the color of the vest that you have.
William says aging isn't easy. It comes with big changes and many challenges. So just as children look to him as a mentor, when he needed a little wisdom, he knew just where to find it.
I've asked the seniors, okay, when I started years ago, what do you do now that you have fulfilled your life's obligations, your responsibilities, marriage, children, education? Maybe you did what your parents wanted you to do, you've done what you want to do, but yet here you are now by yourself. The majority of them said that I revert back to when I was a teenager and I had those responsibilities to begin with, because my joy then was not to volunteer, it was not to work for anybody, it was to fulfill my own soul, to learn and explore life and living. So I found that the seniors that I gravitate myself towards are those that do that.
And many of those are volunteers. Holly Tannehill is the Volunteers for Community Impact Program Coordinator. She sees the difference every day.
It is amazing what the volunteers do for the program. They really are they're the gem in the middle of everything that we're doing. And you would think it's the children that are being affected by the program, because the children are learning the lessons. The children are the ones that are running around playing the games. They're the ones that are really being armed for a healthier lifestyle. So they have all these things that they know about now. But the volunteers also are learning, and they'll tell you they're learning also. They're giving back so they can feel like, I'm doing something.
And the thing she feels most strongly about is her belief that everyone is capable of making a difference.
You have so much to offer. You have a whole life that you've lived. You've got so many experiences. The kids will ask people, how was it when you were little? Because they want to know. Maybe they don't have a grandmother to ask those questions, or a grandfather. They're so curious about different things.
It's why so many who give volunteering a try, like William Jones, end up finding something they weren't sure they ever would, a whole new sense of purpose.
You always got to show up in the crowd, right?
Well, my future is very much the same as what I'm doing today. I'm just establishing myself in my community and helping the world that I live in and to do something to who I am. I'm learning more about the world in front of me. And most importantly, I think my quest is like a lot of us seniors now, to share what we've done in our lives. Stretch it.
Boy, there is no question that if you are in your 60s or your 70s on up, you are wiser, more compassionate, more understanding, and you have as much to give as in any other time in our lives.
Yeah, and the great thing is, in the process of helping others, we're actually helping ourselves, because the physical, mental, and emotional benefits of volunteering or mentoring are now well documented. We live more relevant, purpose-driven lives and set an example for others to follow. Here's another inspiring example of making a difference. Petty Officer Michael McCassell, whose father died from Parkinson's back in 2014, recently broke a world record and raised nearly $2,000 for charity in his father's name. In just under 27 hours, McCassell climbed a 20-foot rope, a total of 29,029 feet. That's the height of Mount Everest. It's just one of the things that McCassell, who joined the Navy after the September 11th attacks, has done as part of his 12 Labors project. It's an effort based on the mythology of Hercules, with the intention of inspiring people to challenge themselves in ways that will benefit others. If you want to find more inspirational stories of men and women who embrace the Move Forward, Give Back movement, just check out growingboulder.com/TV.
Well, if you're one of those who figures that one person cannot make much of a difference, let us present Roz Savage. She wanted to do something to bring attention to the environment, but she was just a secretary. What could she do? Well, despite that voice of doubt in her head, she got in a rowboat and rowed alone across the Atlantic Ocean, then the Pacific, then the Indian, becoming the only woman ever to do all three. She says the big lesson she tries to teach is stop dreaming and start doing, because you just never know. And now, how about Ben Beach? They call him the Marathon Man, and on Growing Boulder Radio, he explained why. He's the first person ever to run the Boston Marathon 50 years in a row. Ran his first in 1968, and he's doing it now despite a neurological condition called dystonia. But he hasn't let that stop him yet. And he says he's going to keep that streak going until it isn't any fun anymore. 50 years, that's a record that may be around for a while.
When we follow our hearts and lead with our passions, the result can be the most deeply satisfying way to make a difference and make a living. Rob Butcher ran U.S. Masters Swimming as CEO until he answered a very personal and powerful poll. The 7th annual Rowdy Gaines Masters Classic, like Rowdy himself, is bolder and faster than ever. The swimmer of the meet has to be Dr. Steve Wood, an orthodontist from Weatherford, Texas, who rewrites the record book in the 55 to 59-year-old age group, setting 6 new World Masters records. Wood's performance is something to dance about, but the real hardware is the Growing Boulder Inspiration Award, which takes a great deal of thought. But ultimately, there's always plenty to smile about because inspiration is everywhere. It doesn't take long to settle on U.S. Masters Swimming Executive Director Rob Butcher, who will be leaving to become President and CEO of Swim Across America, the nation's #1 swimming-related nonprofit raising money for cancer research, prevention, and treatment.
There's no finer character in a guy that you'll find than Rob Butcher, and that's the honest to God truth. He's just a good guy, and I think that passion, that love that he has for swimming really rubs off on people. And besides that, he's brilliant. The dude he's so smart.
Butcher is a world-class swimmer himself, and this will be his final meet as USMS Executive Director. When he took over 7 years ago, it was a virtual organization with only 2 employees. There are now 15 employees, 1,500 master's programs nationwide, and a multi-million-dollar budget serving a rapidly growing membership.
We've gone from, 40,000 to 70,000 in the 7 years he's been here, so pretty good growth.
Under Rob's leadership, USMS has created grassroots programs to support and benefit coaches, its primary connection to those it serves.
And so we've invested heavily into the coaches, providing them the best tools, the resources that they need so they can ultimately deliver a day in and day out Masters swimming experience.
He's also created the Swimming Saves Lives Foundation, which trains instructors and provides opportunities for all adults to learn to swim.
Whether you're 18 or 118, whether you're swimming for fitness or you have other reasons, we want to create an inclusive environment where more adults can ultimately swim.
Rob wasn't looking to leave a job he loves, but the opportunity to help defeat a disease he hates was too much to turn down.
A cause that I could wholeheartedly sink my soul into, and cancer's affected a lot of us, and I lost my mom to cancer, my stepmom had cancer, my grandmother had cancer, so it's very close to me and to my family, and being able to sink my teeth into a cause like this that I care so much about, and meeting the people that I have compassion for, and seeing that almost all the dollars raised goes back to local hospitals for cancer research and for cancer survivorship, it really became a compelling opportunity and quite honestly a next chapter I wanted to take in my life.
For all he's done for so many, and all he's certain to do for so many more, Rob Butcher wins the Growing Boulder Inspiration Award.
I was humbled, I was speechless, I was privileged, I was honored to be in such great company as, legends like Tiger Holmes and other people. It just is, I got tingles right now thinking of it. So thank you so much to Growing Boulder and for the incredible work that you guys are doing of sharing these stories.
The Rob Butcher story only gets more interesting and far more personal moving forward as he joins the fight against the disease that took his mother.
It's hard not to get teared up when I think about that. And, my wife Allison didn't push me into this, but once I made the decision, she gave me the biggest hug and she just said, "Your mom is smiling down from heaven right now, and she would be incredibly proud of you." And the desire to want to do this and be attracted to it, and to do it for her, and I think to be a role model for our young kids as well too.
Rob will continue to compete in and support USMS events, and like any worthy Inspiration Award recipient, he has a growing Boulder takeaway for us all.
If we can continue to help people and you can bring a service attitude to whatever it is you're doing, the dividends will pay off. And it may not necessarily be money in the bank account, but there's so many other forms of currency that will pay huge dividends for you and pay for other people. So give of yourself to other people because the rewards will come back tenfold.
And with that, he waves goodbye to one rewarding chapter in his life and anxiously begins the next. He's a great guy and a brilliant leader. Swim Across America has been around for over 30 years now, and under Rob's new leadership is having a greater impact than ever. In fact, this year they'll stage 15 open water benefit swims all across the country and over 100 pool swims.
And those swims support some of the top cancer research facilities in the world, and Rob is even more fulfilled than ever. He's making a difference, he's honoring the memory of his mother, and he's doing what he loves. That's what we call moving forward and giving back. Out of all the types of cancer, childhood cancers account for less than 1%, but that still means that every year over 10,000 children will have to deal with that chilling diagnosis. Each has to find his or her own way of dealing with it. As Wendy Chioji explains, that's especially true of a young man named Benji Watson.
These are what childhood memories should be, a brother and sister sharing adventures, making discoveries, experiencing the world. But life doesn't always work out that way.
One morning I woke up and I was just feeling awful, and my parents took me to the ER, and that's when we found out that it was cancer.
The attending physician, the ER doctor, comes out, pulls us out of the room and says, you know, we're 99% sure your son has cancer. He has a mass the size of a grapefruit in his chest.
Excuse me.
Benji Watson had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
I was surprised. I wasn't really feeling anything at the moment. I was just in disbelief and couldn't really understand what was going on.
I mean, we were all like devastated. And he, you know, I remember the first thing him saying, well, he said, I'm going to be a cancer survivor. That was his first words out of his mouth. When we sat there with him, you got cancer? He goes, well, then I'm going to be a cancer survivor. He was the strongest of all of us, without a doubt.
The pain is so raw the tears still flow. But if you spend any time around the Watson family, you quickly learn that they are fighters. They're also observers. And when Benji was in the hospital, he noticed something that just didn't seem right.
Well, I just had a overwhelming amount of support from all my friends and family in school. And any given day I had 30 visitors on the floor, and there was at any time hundreds of children being treated for the same thing I had, but put together they didn't have half the amount of people visiting them that I had, and I just thought that wasn't okay.
So he started the Benji Watson Cancer Foundation and dedicated himself to holding fundraising events to help allow parents to be right by their child's side by covering some critical expenses. In just the first few years, Benji's foundation has raised over $200,000 and helped hundreds of families.
I hope to grow my foundation to get it as big as I can possibly get it and just continue to help as many people as we can.
This, you think, now is going to be your life's calling?
Mm-hmm. Certainly is going to be involved in my life for a long way to go.
Well, you know, Ben was kind of jolted into the world of cancer in the first place, but he had the wisdom to see past himself. He saw the need for compassion, for a helping hand, and for somebody to stand up and make a difference. And even as a young man, he said, why not me?
Yeah, remarkable young man. You know, so many people who are touched by cancer mention how important the relationships are that are made during their battle. They say they couldn't have done it alone. And it's why so many survivors like Benji Watson will do anything they can to give someone else a fighting chance. You'll find more inspirational surviving and thriving stories at our website, growingboulder.com/TV. You know, many of us have the collecting bug. Maybe it's a set of vintage dolls or some little toy cars.
Or maybe you have some autographs that you got from some famous people, maybe ball players. Memorabilia, especially in sports, is big business, you know that, but it's about more than just the money.
Some people collect valuables. Not Rich Soberet, he collects memories.
But you remember your family, you remember going to the game, you remember the people you met, but I think more important, you remember the times when you were a kid and you pretended you were Hank Aaron, you pretended you were Eddie Matthews, or pitching left-handed and being Warren Spahn.
Just like an old song that takes you back to a certain time, Rich's collection is like a journey through the highlights of his youth.
Ralph Kiner over here. My dad took me to my first ball game in 1947. I saw Ralph Kiner hit a home run. It always stuck with me, Forbes Field. So I lay in bed over there and I look out the window and I see Ralph every night. My wife doesn't mind.
It all started for him when he bought a football helmet, his very first big-ticket item.
When the Colts moved to Indianapolis, they had an auction for one of the hospitals, unsigned. At that point in time, they'd give you anybody's signature on it. Well, I might put the high bid in for the helmet, and I told my wife, I says, one day I'm going to get Johnny Unitas to sign it.
It took 13 years to get that signature, and by then, well, he wanted more. Many of his autographs are names any sports fan would recognize. Most of his photos are of legendary icons from days gone by. But one of his most prized possessions was given to him as a gift.
My wife bought this book for me, and this book made it around to 22 different players around the country, including Nicholas, Johnny Lou Jack Horning, Paul Horning, Ted Williams, Mudcat Grant, Minnie Minoso, Robinson, Al Rosen, Spahn, Brock, Musial, Kiner, Bench, Erskine, etc. And Erskine was the first signer, and he's the one that said, why don't you send this around to some of these guys that like to, the old timers like to look at the pictures, the quality of the pictures. And here. And Jim Mudcat Grant, and there's a picture of me and Grant. We played ball against each other in the Army.
Rich's collection takes up an entire room in his house, and that's where the collection will stay. These pieces mean far too much to him to ever sell. He wants it to stay together even after he's gone.
I'm not selling anything. I'm not selling anything. Nothing's for sale. These are for future generations of my family to maintain. And they know that.
Many of his boyhood heroes are no longer with us, and that makes Rich well aware that all of us will eventually move on. But he hopes this collection is a way to help him live forever through the eyes of his grandchildren, the very same way he keeps alive the memories of the immortal stars of his youth.
No doubt, sports creates memories, even for the players themselves. How about this? A former NFL star talking about one of his greatest memories, an encounter he had with the one and only Muhammad Ali. Ali gave countless hours to his fans, and that one incident meant the world to a college football star named Reggie Williams. You see, Reggie was about to quit the game. Nothing was going right for him, and he started thinking that maybe he just wasn't good enough. Well, after running into Ali at the Cleveland airport, the champ gave him some unforgettable advice that helped that kid go on to become one of the greatest NFL linebackers of all time. How'd that conversation go?
I told him my story about getting ready to quit football. And he just told me you got to pursue your dreams, and that he had every confidence that if I really put my mind to it, I could make it. And he signed my first autograph, which I still have to this day.
Reggie went on to spend 14 unforgettable years playing football for the Cincinnati Bengals. Dr. Bill Thomas is a renowned gerontologist who has helped transform long-term care.
And now he has his sights set on an even bigger and broader goal. He wants to change the way that we all view aging. For today's takeaway, Dr. Thomas joins Growing Bolder via Skype to share the 3 takeaways, these simple pieces of advice that he closes most of his presentations with. We'll see you next time.
1. Wake up. You're living in a dream. You're living in a dream that says aging is bad, you can stay young, buy my cream, your achy knees are a sign of personal moral failure. I'm saying, wake up. That's not true. Number 2, breathe deep. For a little while, you're going to be here. A little while. Breathe this air. Look up into that blue sky. Smell that fresh cut grass. Feel the breeze on your face, man. Do it. 3rd, live dangerously. Live dangerously. Because as you mentioned earlier, the mortality rate is 100%. And you have a chance now, living in these decades, to live more dangerously than you've ever lived before. That's it.
All right, and anytime.
A center like that reaches
making a difference. Petty Officer Michael McCaskill, sorry.
How about Ben Beach? They call him the Marathon Man, and on Jackie's phone.
I didn't like it.
More information about all of the stories you've seen here today is available at growingboulder.com/TV. And you can get inspired to keep rebranding aging when you connect with the Growing Boulder community on Facebook. Growing Boulder is available on DVD for $19.99 plus shipping and handling. A companion book, Growing Boulder, Rebranding Aging by Mark Middleton, is available as well for $29.99 plus shipping and handling. And you can subscribe to Growing Boulder magazine for $19.99. Order online at growingboulder.com/TV.